open up our March 24th workshop meeting, reminding the public that we won't be taking any action on anything tonight, just discussion and kind of getting ready for our upcoming council meeting. So with that in mind, I'm going to turn over to Ron. Let's do our public comments, if we have public comments. Please come to the podium and state your name and your address.
My name is Christina Raish, and I'm here to personally give you guys invitations to the Main Street Awards for this year. My address, 22 2nd Avenue Northeast, Hampton, Iowa, otherwise known as Center 1, where you can find me probably more than at home. So I'm going to hand these out. These are Main Street Awards, May 2nd. One award that we are nominated for this year, and that is a facade improvement over $15,000 for the GAR Memorial Hall. And we have a Main Street Volunteer of the Year, which is Eric Christensen, and he will be recognized. So I just wanted to stop by and personally invite you guys. If you'd like to come, feel free to contact me at Center 1 by the 14th. There's a dinner. I don't know if you've gone in the past. Went last year for the first time. It was a lot of fun. The governor, lieutenant governor is there. So it's a really fun evening. You get to see other communities and how Main Street works in other communities as well. So that was it. Thank you, guys.
Are you doing transportation this year?
Depends on how many people we get.
Okay.
Don't know yet.
Any questions for Christina on the Main Street Awards? Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. And I run out again.
Any other public comments?
I have a movie date.
Seeing none, we'll turn it over to Ron Dunn to kind of work us through the new business.
Thank you. First item is discussion of Aquatic Center admission fees. We've already been having people stop in City Hall wanting to purchase Aquatic Center passes. And so we just wanted to get the council's blessings on the current fees. If there's any changes that you're wanting to make, then we need to get that moving. So you have in front of you, I think the current price is family pass is $100. That's the early bird special, and then I believe until June 1st, and then it goes up to $125. And then you got single 45, the regular price is $60. Senior age 55 and over, $30, and then the regular price is $40. Senior couple ages 55 and over, early bird 40, regular 55. So, and then you get caregiver, and just wanted to touch base if anybody wants to discuss these or what.
Dick?
Do you see any need for change, adjustments?
Hi guys. Good to be that time of year again. I don't think we need to adjust anything. I think right now, currently is a good place where we're at. I'm not sure if we do raise it, we'll see much fall off, if any, but that's totally up to you guys. One thing that we did offer last year that we didn't offer in years past was a caregiver pass, which was the $30 additional fee to a family pass. That did not really get utilized a whole lot. I think there was only 3 or 4 total throughout the whole summer that were purchased onto a family. So I don't know if necessarily if their babysitter or whatnot, if they would, you know, not pay the 45 versus the 30, you know, that might be something to look at if we were to change anything. I just don't think there was a whole lot of utilization to that. And then on the backside, you know, it's only good for when they're with those children. So, I mean, if they were to buy the individual pass, then they could come and go as they please throughout the course of summer if they have the kids or not. So, I don't know if that would be more appealing to some families to say, you know, versus just when my kids are here, you know, want to give a perk so you can go swimming on Saturday or Sunday on your own to relax or whatever. I don't know if families would be more willing to pay that extra $15 to get that for that individual or not.
Could you remind me what's the daily rate that we charge?
An adult is considered 18 years of age and above, it's $3. 18 and below, or actually from 2 to 18 is $2, and then under the age of 2 is free. That's another change that we made last year, hoping to get some younger parents in there with some younger kids to get them into the facility. We did see some utilization of that. The parents still did pay to get in, but they were more apt to pay. That was, I think, what your guys' thoughts were, to get them in the door instead of paying the $3 for themselves and the $2 for an infant of that age. We did see some utilization of that, so I thought that was a good move on our part. So I think that those rates are pretty cheap, for lack of a better term. If you were to go to a different facility, I was just in Northwest Iowa this over the weekend. Sioux Center has an indoor facility and an outdoor when it comes summertime. It was $5 for an adult. They have the same amenities basically that we do inside versus what we have outside. So, and it was $3 for a child. So it's just one of those things. When you go to other pools, you look at rates and kind of see where we're at. So I think we're really reasonable with that.
Do we offer a punch card?
We do.
What's that?
A punch card is $10. That gets you 8 punches. A child, which is, like I said, 2 to 18, you get 1 punch for admission, so you get 8 trips to the pool for $10. An adult takes 2 punches to get in. So the adult gets 4 for $10, and then a child is 8 for $10.
So when somebody takes aerobics, then can they just buy a punch card, or is that paid for like on a different scale?
Nope. If you, and that's the thing, if you were wanting to do aerobics that we offer, which is Monday through Thursday and 5 to 6, you can buy your season pass, and that'll get you in. There's no additional fee to those programming things that we do. Or if they want to come on an as needed basis, or want to come just once or twice a week or whatever, then the punch card, they could buy that and use that for the aerobics as well, or lap swimming, or whatever it is that they would like to do.
And can you tell me, and you might have to look this up, when you take a look at everyone that came last year, like what percentage had passes and who just paid admission? Because I guess what I'm looking at, I think if anything, we should consider raising our daily rate and even the punch card rate, maybe leave the passes the same. That might encourage people to buy more passes.
I think that we did have a large number of passes sold last year. I'm not sure if it topped the year before. I think our second year was our highest. I don't know right off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and look and ask Robbie to kind of go through the files and take a look at that.
I'm just curious.
But there were a lot more people who paid on a daily basis versus it seemed than in years past. It just seemed like that flow, and there were some people who realized maybe they weren't getting their $100 worth, or weather permitting, or family vacations or whatever, that they weren't utilizing that as much as they thought, and they would, sometimes that punch card is a better deal.
You have no way of knowing if these are out-of-town kids that
We
pay
don't.
that?
Nope.
You don't ask for addresses?
Nope, we don't. Nope. Everybody through the door is treated as they were one of our own.
Don't you sign in when you?
Yep, you sign in. But as far as asking for an address, or if you're local or out of town, or you live inside the city limits versus outside of the city limits, I know some facilities, it depends on if you live inside the city limits, it's a cheaper rate versus if you live outside the city limits. I know some towns still do that, but we don't do anything with that at this time.
You could maybe put, just for what Jim's saying, because like if people bring their cousins or something, I don't think that we need to hook the people that have passes that want to bring their cousins or their friends from out of town, sting them another buck or two, because, and if you just write down Jim Smith from Osage or whatever, then you can maybe track the people that are paying the daily rate. And because I know what you're saying too, but sometimes when you have a family reunion and you all want to go to the pool, but it's going to cost somebody $500 it's not, $5 isn't ridiculous either, but my opinion, if, you know, cause my kids have friends that don't necessarily have passes and they go and pay their rate twice a week or whatever. But it's, most of the time, if you don't have a pass, it's probably because you didn't have the $100, but you do have $2 or $3 every time you want to go swim there.
Right.
So,
I think we can look at it pros and cons, both sides.
just have it just on that address or on that, next to the name, just say, right town, what town you live in, and then next year we'll say, we had 400 kids that weren't from Hampton that came swimming last year, or whatever. Maybe.
We could definitely take a look at that. A lot of the time is with those sign-in sheets and sign-out sheets, you know, time consuming and trying to keep the flow through, and I mean, I'm not saying it's not impossible, but it would just be something else that we would have to, which is a good thing to find demographically where everybody's coming from. I'm not saying that by any means, but it would just be an extra step in the process, and you know, I'm always looking for a way to make that easier, the sign-in process, and to figure out what's what. So, you know, I'm always up for suggestions, up for conversation, because I'm not convinced that what we do right now is the easiest and or the most efficient, but it's what we're used to, and it's kind of what we've gone with for so long. I mean, there's systems that we can put in place. There's another system that, you know, everybody has a card, and it's just a scanner instead of, you know, then you won't have, because what happens is people sign down and check down that they're siblings or whatever, but then you have everybody that works there that knows that, well, they're not cousins, or they're cousins and not brothers and sisters, they're not on the same pass, and then you're hunting them down and kicking them out, or asking them for them to pay the money. So, you know, just because you write a name and put something behind it doesn't mean that's legit, true. So, I mean, it's a great idea. I mean, I'd love to, Jay, I'd love to have a conversation about it sometime, you know, or ways that we can find that information that would be more,
Well, I don't know if you have any room on your sign-in sheet, you just add a column called address.
yeah, I mean,
Or town, city.
Right.
Of course, if they live in the country,
Yeah, but
if they're gonna say
address.
Hampton, then you would think they're from Hampton.
Could we do zip code? Does everybody just do zip code, just go from that, and that way?
And then again, you got those 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds
Oh,
that have no
no,
idea
exactly, yeah.
what town they live in, let alone what their phone number is or who their mom and dad are. I mean,
So that age kids can come to the pool without a parent, or?
well, not necessarily. You know, we say 7 and above needs to have, you need to be 7 years of age and older to come along. But then you have those instances where they come with a 14-year-old and so on and so forth, and then you become their babysitter because they go off and hang out with their friends and everything. So, I mean, we can try it. I mean, we can look into it. I think it's a great way to figure out who's utilizing our facility, other than because I always have conversations with. I try to talk to a lot of our patrons throughout the course of the day and interact, and there's a lot of people who come back to the area and enjoy what we've done, and we're happy to see what the city has done and putting this into place and what they've done with everything else, and it just goes on and on and on sometimes, but yeah, I mean, we can definitely look at a way to do that for you.
I think that's a good idea with, you know, $30 versus the $45 for the caregiver. I think that's a little extra money, a little incentive. I mean, if you're gonna pay $30 to get your caregiver in, I kinda think that's a good idea, to go ahead and just say $45 and then they can use it, you know, throughout the summer themselves.
Correct. And I mean, that's totally, that's where you guys come in. I just know that there was only, I want to say 3 or 4 right off the top of my head that I know of that purchased that caregiver. And once again, it was only good for when they were with the children, and then you have to say, well, are the children here, or are they coming later, or when they come in?
Right.
You know, we did fine. I'm just saying that's probably one area that that incentive, $15
I think
would be.
that stemmed from maybe some grandparents who weren't particular swimmers, and
Right.
And didn't
Yep.
want to sit on the outside of the fence, and
Right.
And
Yep. And that's
so it allowed them a discount. I think that even though there's few using it, it might be worth it to keep it, just because of the perception that they're
Right.
getting a break. I don't know. I just know there were some strong feelings that something needed to be recognized as far as caregiver, and I think we should strongly consider keeping it.
And I guess that would be their option too, if they wanted to go ahead and buy their
Yeah.
caregiver
Give
a
it-
45, yeah,
It's
that's
up to
true, I
them,
didn't
yeah,
even think about that.
they can do that,
Yeah.
sure.
And there
I-
probably isn't
I-
a real big call for it. There's, like you said, there's only gonna be a few grandparents or something. The rest are gonna want a single one, because
Yeah.
they're gonna wanna come at other times,
Yeah.
so I think it's necessary to keep myself.
I do too. We received a lot of feedback when we didn't have that in the first year, and I think we're putting fires out before they even start by having it available. We're not losing much revenue, because obviously there's not too many that are gonna do it.
The other thing, as far as dollar and cents, as far as the mission and stuff, the one thing that we receive a lot of flack on and get a lot of complaints about throughout the course of summer is that right now we charge everybody that enters our facility, admission, if they're gonna watch or not watch, or if they're gonna swim, or if they're just gonna watch, we charge the same rate. You know, we deal with a lot of people who get disgruntled, well, I'm not gonna pay to watch my child swim, well, then your child can't swim because they're out of age, and then, you know, it's a round and around thing. And that's where that caregiver pass came in too. So that's just something for you guys, you can think about if that's something that you wanna do. A lot of facilities, charge partial or whatever rate of what the admission is, or they charge full rate. Very few facilities charge absolutely zero that I've ran into in the area, so that's just something to think about in the process. I got pretty broad shoulders, so I have no problem with talking to those people, but it's just a matter of being firm, fair, and consistent.
Well, those people are still using the facility though. They may go to the bathroom, they're using the chairs, so we can have a discussion on getting more chairs, so they can't expect to be there free.
Right.
Because they are using the facility
Right.
also.
And I'm totally fine with it, I just wanna, while we were discussing rates and everything, I think this would be an appropriate time to bring that concern up, or that food for thought.
Will we need action on this in future council to approve, or?
Well, if they wanna make any changes, yeah, if there's no
If
changes.
there's no changes,
then we
we're
don't
fine
need
with it.
Yeah.
So, if everyone's fine, any discussion on that, or thoughts?
What would happen if we, in your opinion, if we did raise the
One to two different years.
rates, like to 4 and 3 instead of 3 and 2?
I don't think that dollar's gonna make or break a whole lot.
Well, assuming the same admission now, you know, supply and demand maybe go down, but
Right.
we had with youth, on the statistics that were just handed out, is that on near the right end where it says adults, and I'm looking at 2013, there were 12,474 youth and 4,448 adults.
Is that right, Jim, if I
Is-
approach and look at that? 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
I don't have that in front of me.
I was more asking maybe Doug and Ron, but
Okay.
is this statistics, is this total that including passes, or is that just the rates for the individual paid at the door without a pass?
That's Bradley.
But let's say, well, I mean, if you have 12,000 youth, I mean, $1 more, that's 12,000 more dollars. Adults, you know, you're having $1 more. So, I mean, you could have over 10,000 up to $16,000-17,000 more if you had the same numbers by raising it $1.
But some of those youths came in under a family pass and some came
Well,
in under
that was my
a-
question,
I think-
or how many of those, is that total there that day, or you probably didn't break it down by pass or into?
We break
Or-
it down by youth paid, and then we break it down by pass. We don't break it down to individual pass. We break it down by youth paid and adult paid.
That's
We
what I
take
mean,
that-
so
we
if you
take that
take
out
those
of-
numbers,
We take that
right.
out of the general population, or who, say we have 375 people coming through the facility, and 280 of them were passes, then we break down the
Right.
other 90,
And that's like saying, if you're
95
charging
people.
$1 more, and if you have that same number, you're gonna have that much more money, cause how much money did we lose last year? I know we're always gonna lose money,
Yeah.
but
So,
And-
plus part of it, I don't know what other schools are thinking of doing around us too, so whether we do a quick, sort of a survey, seeing what they're thinking about also.
We could do that.
I'm just throwing that out.
Yeah.
Just,
Couldn't we make up just as much money even more quickly if we consider raising the family rates just a little bit?
we can do that too.
I mean, we're very competitive with what the
Yeah.
figures I remember from surrounding communities, we are very competitive.
I'd much rather see us raising the individual rate than the family rate, just. I don't know, with the economy the way it is and things, I just think that people might, even if you raise it only $10, they might frown upon that, might steer them away. That's just my opinion.
Would it be, is it easier for someone to come to the aquatic center if they have a pass to check in, rather than like take money?
No.
Or is it
The
the other way around?
Because we still require this, I mean, this is where the flaw is, and because they still have to sign in. So we can have two different windows, but if you're working out of two different windows, then people just cruise in and out, you know. So what I try to do at the beginning of the day is the people who have passes, I usually have them hang out to the right, and then people who need to pay go through the window, and then we just have two different sign-in sheets going until we get everybody caught up. But because we still require everybody to sign in. So the whole
So you
process
just don't
is-
have one sign-in sheet and have the person write their number down, and then if.
They
if it's
sign their name
individual-
and they sign their name, if it's a family come in, they'll write usually their last name, and then mark how many children they have and how many adults they have. Or we'll just fill them sheet after sheet after sheet.
So these statistics are for attendance, not for who paid and who, these are attendance, not paid versus.
Right.
So, for people that have passed, there could be in here 5, 10, 20, however many times they came. So the idea of raising the dollar, well, is
Right.
that correct?
Right.
This
Right.
is just attendance.
Right.
Not any
Right.
fee.
Right. I mean, if you just look at, just look at the 6-1, which would be the second line. Our gate receipt was $140. General admission, so we took in $90 from people coming in and paying at the gate. All that general admission is what we took in at the gate as far as, people coming in and paying on a daily basis.
So we got
The single passes, that's where it says single, that's how many dollars we brought in for single passes, and then obviously senior passes, is the next column, senior couple. Family, is your family passes, how many family passes, dollars we brought in that particular day. And then caregiver, I guess there are a few more than what I remember selling. I see 4 right off the top of the bat here, not including the 210 that we sold prior to, so if you do the math, it's roughly 10 caregiver passes that we sold. And then your card daily is your punch cards. And then your lessons is what we brought in for swimming lessons, and then rental fees, swim team, other is miscellaneous. And then your youth totals, I guess this doesn't break it down for totals, this has just the total number of people per day. So I lied to you, Jim, when I said that was, and I apologize to that.
That's okay.
So.
When do we need to announce this? When were you planning?
Whenever you
When do we
feel
usually
necessary.
wanna get this out to the public? Start
Well,
selling?
If you wanna contemplate, if there's some, if you're leaning towards maybe making some change to something, then, we can put it on council agenda and discuss it some more. We can get a little research done between now and Thursday, and if you kind of focus in on where you want it to research, family passes compared to other communities, or daily admission, or.
We didn't offer a holiday special this year, did we? Last year we had a holiday special where we sold during Christmas and stuff.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
I don't know how many we sold, but we did sell some.
So then
I
that's,
don't, do you know how many?
I don't, but we did sell some.
so we offered a holiday special, which was early bird special type thing, so I mean, that's.
Better than this early bird special,
No, it's
It would be the same one.
Same price.
but this one goes till June 1st.
Yeah, May 31st would be the last day, and then as of June 1st, it rolls over to the regular pricing. So it allows them to have the next 2 months, basically, to purchase their family or single passes before it goes up. Give or take a few days. And I'm fine with whatever, I just, it's just whatever you guys want is what I need to enforce and train my employees on to make sure we get the job done, so. I mean, whatever you guys feel is necessary or deemed necessary, we'll put that into action and, you know, we'll fulfill it to our best of our abilities.
More discussion, because I think we're looking for, if we're fine with it, then we can stand and be announced. If we want to do some more discussion or research on it, then.
Yeah, what's the consensus? Do you want us to look into what other communities, where they're at price-wise, or do you wanna leave, we don't, just kinda let me know.
I'm okay with it the way it is.
Leave it the way it is. When do you close?
When do we
Close
close?
September.
We're open Memorial Day to Labor Day, so holiday to holiday. So I'm not sure when that's September, first part of September, whenever that is.
23rd, I think, this year.
September 23rd? I hope not.
No.
Labor Day was, oh, I'm thinking Memorial Day. Memorial Day is the first week.
We open on the 24th.
Oh, okay.
That would be Memorial Day weekend.
I think it'd be good to know where we stand with other communities, as long as it's not a labor intensive thing for you guys, just to check and see what other communities are doing. We did that in the past, so see if
Yeah.
it changed.
We've made no changes since we opened. This is our 4th season, so we've made no changes in pricing in the last 3 years. It's been the same for 3 years, so I don't know if you guys were aware of that or knew that, but we've made, except for the caregiver, we added that last year, and then last year we also added the 2 and under was free, or under 2 was free, so.
Okay, Jim?
I mean, I'm fine whatever the consensus, but Windsor charges $4 for an adult and $3 for a youth, 16 and under, and that's what I was looking at prices. We had been 3 and 2 a number of years ago. We've been in business 12 years, but we bumped it up $1 each. And that's what I was sort of using for comparison. For
There you only get
discussion.
an hour and 45, here you get 7.5.
I'm happy with the family rate. I don't see any reason to change that. If anything, maybe the daily one, but doesn't have to.
I would probably be okay with I'd be okay with raising both of them a little bit, but yeah, cause like
Daily.
I said, the Windsor is, 4 and 3, and you probably had a little wine at first, right? But the
Of
Windsor,
course.
you're paying 4 or 3 for 2 hours. And here you're paying 4 or 3 for 10, 12, how many hours you open?
7 to general public.
Okay, so we'll do some research, and we'll put this on the agenda for some discussion. Thursday, okay? All right. Thank you.
Is there any other questions today?
Thank you.
Thanks, Bradley.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you.
Doug. Next item is, sorry. Next item on the agenda is review ordinance 350, amending chapter 149 wellhead protection. What brought this on was ag land use out west of the wells, west of Industrial Park, and it's in a wellhead protection zone. Chapter 149 is public water supply wellhead protection regulations of the Hampton Municipal Code, and it's got time-related capture zones listed in chapter 149. And what we had found out when there was a recent land sale there is that some of the zones didn't allow for ag use, and so and we started doing a little research in that, and it's not very realistic to not have row crop use out there because it's farmland. You know, the restrictions, the regulations you want to see are for proper use of chemical application, of course, and that is addressed. But so when we started looking into that, we got some suggestions from the Iowa Rural Water Association to adjust our 149.03 there for maps of zones of influence, A talks about the primary protection zone, the area within the 2-year time zone of any well supplying potable water to the city water. And then secondary zone, the area within the 5-year. And I think that was, look at what it currently says. The current zone of sensitivity calls for A is 2 years, so that would be the same. B is currently 10 years. They're suggesting changing that to 5. And C, zone of sensitivity, currently is 20 years. They're suggesting changing that to 10. This information, this comes from them and their work through Iowa DNR and their rural water assessment studies. And anyway, we don't have to change that, but they're recommending that it's more realistic numbers to use. So I propose to take their professional advice and change those. I don't have a lot of expertise in that. I'm counting on what they're telling us is the proper way. And then section 3 is amendment to chapter 149.04. Restrictions within the primary protection zone. And we would amend 149.041, amended to add the following subsections: F, sewer, residential and commercial; G, above ground storage tanks when in compliance with the state fire marshal's regulations; and H, field cropping activities. Those are currently not listed as prohibited or for permitted uses under the primary protection zone. And that's kind of where we run into some problems, because there, realistically, in reality, there is field cropping in the area, and there's, so it probably should be a permitted use. And F and G are also suggestions of the Iowa Rural Water Association. And basically, you only have to change 149.041, which is the primary protection zone. The other two are okay. So this is a draft of what we're proposing to amend chapter 149 to read, based on information received from Iowa Rural Water Association and the Iowa DNR. Are there any questions regarding that?
So, because this, I have no idea what this is saying is where it's okay to plant crops in this area.
That's correct.
Because what, I don't know what this 2 and 5 and 10, does that mean after 2 and 5 and 10 years they can, or?
Let me show you something. What that is it's a,
I really, if somebody said what we're trying to do is let them plant crops in a place that some guy that knows what they're doing says is okay, is that how we're doing?
well, the protection zones are like, we have, let's say here's a well. This first zone, basically, if something happens on the surface here, there is less time allowed for the earth to filter before it gets into the drinking water here. And so that's the primary protection zone. If something happens or is spilled on the surface here, it would take, it would be allowed more time for the earth to naturally filter that chemical or whatever it was that got spilled or applied to the land. It would give it a longer time to filter before it reached the potable water that we're using. And this, of course, would be out even further. So, and that's what they're calling them, are the recapture zones. This would be 10-year and 5-year and 2-year. So
I understand,
well,
from a spill.
Well,
If a spill
basically
happens,
any type of application, any type of surface application of, whether it's a farmer spreading labeled quantities allowable on the crops versus something that was accidentally spilled. But I have more information I can sit down with you and go through this and show you these zones in more depth, Jay. You have to do that.
I understand that part of it, but what are we, I mean, if they spill something, then what? That well can't be used for 2 years, or?
No, well,
I got it. The 2 years is the amount of time if something were to leach down into the ground, whether it's water or what have you. It'll take 2 years for that before it gets down into the aquifer. A 5-year, it will take 5 years from that location before that, whatever it is, gets down into our aquifer. And in the 10-year, it'll take about 10 years before that would reach the aquifer to where it would cause us.
So we're making it, we're kind of making it closer because we're doing our time tables. You're changing it from 10 to 5 and 20 to 10.
Right, the recommendations.
At the recommendation,
Yeah.
yeah. So basically we're making it more restrictive.
yeah.
So basically, when surface water hits that, let's say surface water's hitting that area in that 2-year capture zone, well, within 2 years, we anticipate that being in our aquifer, which is what we draw from to, take to the treatment plant and treat. Is that better?
Yeah, I'm not sure what, what we're
Well,
trying.
I think it's easier to, maybe it would be easier to understand in the context of you looking at our entire wellhead protection zone, or wellhead protection
Because
plan.
that's where our city well is out by the airport.
Yeah, we have,
Four out there.
four out there by the airport.
Okay.
Yeah. But be happy to go over that with you.
No, I'm good,
We can
just
hit
don't
this on
understand
the
what
tour,
we're-
Jay. We
we're
can
just-
hit this on the tour, and I could really explain it to you probably a lot better just in person.
We're changing it from 10 to 5 and 20 to 10.
Yeah,
So because I trust that whoever it was that
yeah, and this,
said this is okay, I'm trusting that it's okay.
and me too, like I said,
Yeah,
this
we
is a
all are.
recommendation of Iowa Rural Water Association and the DNR. I also talked to the DNR about the, adding field cropping and as a permitted use, and they're in agreement that we should, amend the ordinance and allow field cropping as a permitted use, so.
What about, say you go put lasso or, some of the chemicals? Are
What's
they
that?
permitted to put chemicals?
That's already
The weed
addressed.
control?
That's already addressed, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, in labeled quantities, if you do it according to the labels.
You're all right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you have a map available that we could look at? Not necessarily tonight, but because you have
Sure.
a map there.
Yeah.
That might be helpful,
Yes.
just to see it,
Yeah.
pictures.
And
of
I
the
don't have
ones.
to have this on for Thursday, maybe we should, maybe what I should do is pull more information out of the wellhead, protection plan and supply that at the next workshop and go over, I don't want anybody to
I
feel
think
like we're
that would be
rushing
good.
this, cause it doesn't have to be rushed.
Cause there's a number of people that weren't here when that was
Yeah.
finalized and established by 8-9 years ago.
Yeah, so why don't we do that? That's okay.
Good idea.
Okay, next workshop, we'll talk about this again.
We have one other well only, right? Well, 3.
Right.
And then the south is in the east part of town.
Southeast.
Southeast?
Is that the only other well that we have, other than the ones at the airport?
Other one, yep, by industrial park.
And we use that for some,
Well,
like
it's
now
once a month.
when we need rusty water.
And right now,
Nice. Nice.
it's a huge asset.
Big
Yeah,
time.
we'll talk about it again at the next workshop.
I don't know what to do.
Come on, go on. Just kidding. Be quiet.
Off-street parking, ordinance amendment, I'm gonna have Chief Schaefer approach if he's.
As some of you know, we were kind of working on this, about a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago. And, kind of got put on the back burner and forgotten about, whatever, until last fall. And so, the reason why this got brought about again is the complaints that we've had about people parking in yards. And this is basically what we've come up with, between Doug and myself and the city attorney, for a proposal for an amendment, to the, guess, the ordinance, as far as parking, and also, it also allows for parking during the time that the snow is falling. So basically, just like to have you look at it, see what your thoughts are, and I guess kind of go from there, so. What it amounts to is in order for the vehicles to be parked, you know, in the yard, it's gonna have to be on crushed rock, concrete, or blacktop, and it's gotta be 4 inches thick. So.
How are we making exceptions to this during the snow ordinance?
If you look at the back page,
Exceptions, sorry.
it says exceptions only during emergency snow removal operations when the snow ordinance is called into effect. Vehicles may be parked in a manner whereas the entire vehicle may be parked in any portion of a residentially zoned property contingent upon no part of the vehicle extending over the property line in any direction. Said vehicles must then be moved to normal parking within no more than 24 hours following the cancellation of the snow ordinance. Failure to properly park on the slab within 24 hours of snow removal ordinance would result in a fine of $25.
So, driving around Hampton, there's been numerous people leaving their car in their yard all winter long. So now you will have something to notify them if they go over 24 hours over the snow ordinance.
Yes.
That is not permanent parking for the winter.
I don't think it's limited to just winter, is it?
What's that?
It's not really just a seasonal thing, is it?
Oh, you mean parking the yard?
Parking in the yards.
Well, that's when we have the most problems.
Right.
Without a picture, I can't, what does it mean, that 3 feet setback? Is that?
From what I understand, Doug, you might help me out, it'd be 3 foot from the property line.
Yeah,
Like an alley?
Yes.
Everybody has a property line, well, now it's not your property line, you know, so basically everybody has a property line, you know, house, garage, maybe, so it has to be 3 foot off this property line and 3 foot off this property line. Within 5 foot if that's an alley or what have you, but yeah, it would have to be 3 foot off the property lines in each direction.
So, because that's the part so they have to drive across grass to get onto this slab, or the slab?
Well, we're anticipating that somebody would probably put gravel to that within 5 feet. I think it says within 5 feet, doesn't it, Bob? So that would be gravel typically too. I mean, we're not gonna force them to, we wouldn't want them to drive across grass, no.
But I mean,
Could
if they,
if they wanted to.
let's say, is this the alley? So
Sure.
if they wanted to pour gravel on all of this, is that not okay?
The pad
Gravel,
itself.
gravel up to the
I
alley?
think yeah, I'll have to look, Jay.
Cause if you have let's say that this is the road or the alley, if you have 3 feet, then that means their gravel would be out here. But how would they get their car onto it unless they're driving through their yard here?
Right, understood, yeah, I understand that, I think you'd still want that side, your 3 feet. I mean, they would basically need to have an access approach, I think a gravel approach is suitable, but.
Might wanna spell that out.
Yeah, maybe we better spell it out, we got color.
If the plows go by and rake somebody's gravel off their yard, then do you have to put it back in the spring, or?
No, the concept idea is keeping it, you know, back where it is if we do hit it, then, you know, if they wanna put it back in there, it's fine, but we, you know, probably aren't gonna want to do that, so it's probably part of the 3 foot setback idea.
One of those keeps you from interfering with the pad.
Right.
Is there any restriction to the size of the vehicle?
I don't believe so.
No.
Can you park
no.
a semi, tractor trailer, rig?
No trailer.
If you go down the, if you go down a residential street.
Right, no trailers.
And, you're overweight, you got a trailer, you'll be overweight.
We were having trouble way back when, they bring their trailer and they dolly down and go wash their truck. And
And we did some we put together an ordinance on that many years ago that eliminated that problem, because typically before they come in, they could park their tractor, and the reason for that was in the winter months, you need to plug them in and so forth, that you can't bring a trailer of any kind.
Do we need to be more specific then?
Because it says trailers in line 2.
What's that?
We need to
Well,
be-
in line 2, it says to include vehicles, trailers, campers, motorhomes, etc. So, I mean, what's etc.? I mean, do we need to be more specific? I mean, it sounds like you could park anything then, I mean, just asking.
Would there be ordinances already in place on how much driveway you can have in on
Yes.
your property?
Yes.
So if somebody's wanting to put in a 60-foot slab, gravel slab, I don't think that's already.
There's zoning ordinance that allows that so much of your
Zoning.
yard has to be.
Okay.
Some sort of percentage.
Yeah.
But I know there's a yard up on Highway 65 that's all gravel, isn't it? Which that maybe isn't, you got grandfathered in or something, so. Yeah. I'm guessing that this is probably good. And other ordinances will, when somebody says, well, you said I can, well, I'll still tell you can't in this other one, so.
You know, it's good that you split hairs when we talk about it, though, because
Yeah.
you'd be surprised at the number of citizens that will do the same thing just to try to get out of it. And the idea was to make this as foolproof as possible, so when we do go to court, we win. And, you know, I got a perfect record, I wanna keep it that way, I don't know if the public chief would win.
Well, I think these are things to talk to the city attorney about.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree, yep.
Once upon a time, Doug, you told me if you do a patio, you could do it all the way, you could cement it clear to your property line.
You
But
actually
then
can.
why is this 3 feet back? I don't, and how are you gonna make them tell you if it's a patio or a parking lot?
Well, because they have to, and in here, part of that is they need to come in and get a permit to go and put this in.
So if
They have to get a zoning permit, kinda like they do for a shed as well. If someone wants to do a pad for a shed, it has to be 30 foot off the side and rear. And I think I was trying to be consistent with the 3
Okay.
foot with the pad on the side, and then kinda assuming they would gravel to the darn thing.
Assumption.
There we go, yeah, maybe I assumed too much because, we all know where that gets you sometimes.
I know that this was posed on the chief's website, and I know that there are some communities that they allow parking trailers, campers, whatever, in the backyards on the grass. So, I mean, as far as, the biggest thing I think what we're trying to get to is, again, the situation that we have in the wintertime, number one, and then number two is, you know, when people do go and park vehicles in their backyards and they're there for an extended period of time, where the grass is dead underneath and whatever, so, and it's entirely up to you how you want it to read, but I think what we were looking for, more than having the gravel from the alley to the pad, is having the pad there, so at least, you know, if they're going across the grass, putting on the pad, you know, it's gonna sit on the pad, hopefully they're not gonna do it in the spring and have ruts yay deep or whatever, but we can surely, you know, this is, you know, your part in it too, and if you wanna gravel up to the pad, then, you know, that's what we would, you know, that's what we go with, or, you know, surface all the way.
I guess, how do you define rear yard if a house is on the corner? Would it be where their house number is?
Typically,
Then it'd
their
be-
street address and then back. The thing with that too is, yeah, basically the street address is what we go by.
In
front. Yeah.
Because we've had a situation in my area where someone wanted to put a fence in, and the house number was on one side, and they couldn't put the fence in they wanted because of the way the house was numbered, but and they were on the corner.
Well, the other thing we do too on corner houses for fences is we don't let them break the plane. The row of houses from the front and the side, they wouldn't be able to bring that fence out to the property line on both sides. that's why we have kind of the permitting process with this too, is we're gonna be reasonable, we're gonna work with some folks, cause like we talked about too, there's some backyards where this isn't gonna go, that it's gonna have to go in a side yard. And as long as they're not impeding some vision or something of that nature, say on a corner lot, to where it creates a traffic hazard, then we're probably gonna work with them, as long as it's not out in the front yard, but if they're side, parallel with their house. We're gonna work with them a little bit, but we try to spell out as much as we can, and.
But a pad isn't a structure.
No.
A fence is considered a structure.
If it's over 30 inches, yeah.
Pad.
Oh, I mean, I just use that as an
Yeah.
example
Yeah.
because because talking with that person, their definition of rear yard was not what City Hall called it. I mean, just for something.
And if you read through, it gives us some leeway too, as far as the corner lot applications will be reviewed by the code enforcement officer and the city manager for approval. I think are gonna look at that, and then, they also have a means where if they disagree with us, they can go to the Board of Adjustment and ask, hey, what do you guys think? And then, Board of Adjustment will be final decision, and let's say they don't like that, then there's always the legal courts, but that don't happen very often.
They can move.
No, we don't want that.
But the key thing is that they have to get a permit. So you're going to review before it happens, so the
Yeah.
exceptions will be made by you guys, not by the individual.
Right.
So,
So basically, something for you to look over and see what you think there needs to be for additions or corrections or whatever, what your thoughts are.
Yeah, cause there's always gonna be someone, there always is.
And at this point, I guess what I'm kinda getting for feedback is the thing maybe that you need to look at, and we need to get a consensus is whether or not we need to have it surfaced all the way from the alley or the street or whatever it is to that pad.
On setbacks.
Well, I don't know that you require it, but you should maybe allow it. Not necessarily on the side yard setback, but from an alley, if it's from a public access, then you could allow them to pay that. I don't see a reason why they would wanna pay the.
The other
Side.
reason for some of that, and even though the flat work patio can go right up to that property line and other things, but if you're parking something on here, the 3-foot setback was to try to assist too. The pads are to cover the wheelbase, but let's say someone has a gooseneck trailer or something of that nature, and that tongue sticking out, we're trying to make it to where they can't be extending over on anybody else's property. We're trying to protect everybody involved, not just.
Or the large pickup in the rearview mirror has camper mirrors, and then the guy, the neighbor trying to mow the lawn and the mirror is extending on his property, it's gonna cause problems.
what kind of disposition do we wanna do on this? This is the first time we've seen it, or we're talking about it. Are you getting feedback on the changes, or?
Yeah, I think you've got a couple of things to discuss with Megan, and then come back with it, maybe tweak with some other suggested wording.
Guess the main thing is that we get it done by,
Next winter.
yeah, no. Before really get into spring, because we're gonna have a learning curve here. I don't plan on going out, writing tickets to somebody, 2 days after we have it enacted or whatever. It's gonna be, we're gonna have to do some publicity, maybe passing out door hangers, whatever, getting it put into Spanish so that can be done also, and so.
It'd be nice to have it done this summer, so.
Yes.
If anybody is gonna do it before
So,
winter, they
yes.
they can't,
So they
or
get
next
it
winter.
done. So they can get it done, get the work done, whatever, so.
Yeah, that's the key one, is next winter,
Right.
we will be we have the option to enforce
Yes.
it, but now we can't even enforce it, so. And I think that the sooner we do this, that way the construction side of it can be done this spring. They've got the spring, summer, and fall, so I think the quicker we make action on it, the better. So I would think that if we can get with Megan on the wording, I think we need to make this as quickly as possible, especially when we start talking about ordinances and that stuff coming into the summer. I mean, spring, this is a new ordinance that they need to be aware of before next fall. Anybody's been parking their cars, we can move on.
I'm thinking that realistically, by the next workshop, April 8th, you will probably talk to Megan and maybe even put this into ordinance form, ordinance amendment format, instead of just this letter format. And, we'll put it on the April 8th agenda for the workshop, and then quite possibly could have the first reading on the 10th of April.
So that'll take 3 readings, or we can?
That's up to the
we'll have
council.
go through it.
Yeah, you mean, yeah. Does that sound all right with you guys?
Yes, you could write down exactly kind of what it is that you're looking at that you want to have changed or whatever, that would be great, so.
And get that to you soon.
Yes, please.
Okay. Bob, we're gonna discuss Community Foundation Franklin County Grant Award for Aquatic Center Progress Park Security System, and get some direction on where we should be going.
We got the official letter.
Yes, you have.
Okay.
Yeah, you want it, or
How much did we get?
5,000?
What did we apply for?
Applied for 10.
How much did we apply for?
10,
Okay, got half.
right, Bob? Applied for
Yes.
10,000.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is correct. Which brings us to, we actually had, I think the estimate that we had, I know, in the past, I know that we talked about $8,000. At that time, those cameras, I don't believe were, digital type cameras, they were analog cameras. The cameras that we were talking about in the system that we were talking about, that we put the estimate together on, were IP cameras. The thing about the IP cameras is, if we're looking and need to look at an individual, you're gonna be able to tell that it is Brooke Bemler that's down there, excuse me, Mayor Bemler, that's down there at the tennis courts from the camera that's sitting up there on a pole at the swimming pool, versus, okay, it's a guy with a sweatshirt on and whatever, okay? With that being said, that is the reason, part of the reason why the total package was $13,640. Included in that were 9 bullet cameras, and those were going to be distributed throughout, you know, swimming pool area, whatever, parking lot, an area over on the side, I think maybe even down towards the ball diamond, into the swimming pool area where lockers are at. And then, I think the way that they had it figured was that there would be like 2 cameras each on the pole, one for down at the park, and then, I mean, or 2 that were down at the park, the other 2 would be down at the basketball court and over towards the tennis courts. Those cameras were gonna be a better camera than what the other, you know, the other 9 were. So they had a total of 11 cameras from what I can tell on here. And then also a 32 channel NVR with 5 gigabytes of storage. That unit itself, and I tried to get hold of Jeff and left a message for him today, and tried calling for my residence tonight on my way here and got a hold of him. Basically, the 32 channel NVR is about $4,500. So what he is gonna do, and one of the things that he had brought up, is that a 16 channel would be about $3,500. The reason why we've gone with a 32 channel, I believe at the time, is he felt that way if you wanted to add more cameras at some point in time, you'd have plenty of space to do it, whatever. The way that it looks here with 11 cameras on here, I guess maybe 16 channel would probably be enough anyway. But we're still looking at $3,500, which if we take, you know, 5,000, what we originally had planned on is, if we got the grant for the 10,000, we'd take 2,000, because that's what our match has to be. I guess if we still have that 2,000 available, we could still put that with the 5. He did tell me, when I just talked to him, that if we had 8, and he didn't know that that's what was coming up, then it would be a lot easier to go and try to figure out cameras and whatever. I don't wanna, I guess my thought is, I think we need to go with the, you know, the DVR and minimal cameras, whatever, but my feeling is we need to have those cameras down around the basketball court area, park area, and if we're gonna go and put any, like over at the pool area, I would say the parking lot, and then down towards those, down towards the, lockers. He was gonna get a breakout cost for me, hopefully tomorrow. And, that would give me the cost of what each one of the DVRs would cost, what the cameras would cost. What it probably wouldn't give me is what the labor would be. One of the things that we looked at is that staff, basically donated time would go and put in the wiring for the cameras, because that is probably what one of the bigger costs is gonna be, is labor, because of putting in the wire. At least to those two of the areas anyway. So I guess that's what I have to let you know where we're at, kind of what things cost and what we've got for, you know, basically for the money. And maybe you can help me out because you know what those units cost. I don't know if you've got ID cameras, but.
The better the cameras you get, the better picture you get, I can tell you that.
That's exactly right.
Cause I have a hard time getting license plates with mine, but I can get pretty good pictures of people. And I'm really glad I did it.
Yours record over.
Eventually.
And that's what this would do too. I mean, these would do the same thing. You'd have X amount of storage on there, and once it reaches that point.
If you see some damage or something that's been done, you just go tap into it, check it out.
I check it every morning just to see what happened overnight. It will tell me when it's recorded something. So if it doesn't show that anything was recorded, I don't look, but if it shows me something was recorded, I'll go back and see what happened.
So if, let's say somebody was vandalizing at the pool and you see it and find out who they are, and it's a 14-year-old, what, is there a penalty to a 14-year-old? Is there fines or anything that way?
Not necessarily, but there's restitution that has to be paid. Family's responsible for that. I'm not sure what happens if they don't pay the restitution. If,
I mean, cause that's.
don't know.
If we're gonna spend between $3,000 and $7,000 on this, if there's a way of letting people know that if you wreck something or whatever, you're gonna be caught and we're gonna fine you, and you, either community service or, you know, because it's a major investment, and if it's just to say, you know, we caught you doing it, but we know you're 14, we can't do a thing about it.
And you know, when we first started talking about this, Jay, that was the initial thought, was that we wanted to put this in order to basically the deal with the vandalism. I've kind of been saying all along, that's not necessarily what I'm looking for. I wanna make sure that our park area is safe. And again, the only example that I can give you is, and did it help? No, because, you know, the girls were found dead anyway, but they were able to look at somebody's camera that was in that alley to know the time frame when those girls, you know, when they were in that alley. Well, if we have a pedophile or anything like that that's in the park area, and something would happen, we've got that there, you know, and hopefully being watched that, you know, we can go and do something about it. Same way with any fights that would happen down there. Before somebody would get hurt, hopefully we could see what's going on. Hey, we need to get down there, you know, whatever. That's my biggest reason for wanting it. The other thing is, and again, is the cameras for lockers, because I know that they've had issues with people getting into lockers. Why don't they use locks? I can't answer that, but.
Agree with that security part of it too.
was ripped off the wall.
Yeah, so we gotta replace that, so. I don't know what those cost, but just vandalism. So it's either buy the DVR and then we wait, and when we buy cameras, we buy cameras. I'm just wondering,
The way
and that might be a year.
The way that he talked, we could probably get the DVR and some of those bullet cameras that would actually go to swimming pool area, parking lot, and or the, lockers or whatever. The two cameras that cost the money are the ones that would go up on the poles, and
The
which
pan
are,
zoom tilt.
well, and I don't know if that's what they do, but those are the ones that, because I think the way he was talking, the camera could be set so that it actually would cover most of the park area over towards the basketball court, and then the second one would cover from the basketball court over through the tennis court area. Those two cameras would, but, and I don't know without, so I'm talking way out of there, but I'm thinking that maybe those cameras are costing like about $1,000 a piece, but I'm not sure for the ones, the computer, the IP cameras that would cover that type area.
So a little bit of direction, what we're looking for.
I need just some more specific costs, I think.
I mean, if we got the $10,000, we were required to, come up with 2,000. With us getting the 5,000, we have to come up with 20%, with $1,000.
So the question there is,
So
how
we
much are
either
we
spend-
willing to put in? We have
spend-
$5,000 in cash. The recommendations, in order to receive the 5,000, we have to put in 1,000.
Yes, that's correct.
And then what can we buy for $6,000? I think
Right.
the whole concept was, we wanted to start this and build from it. So we wanted the architect, kind of the foundation
Right.
in order to start monitoring and start using and building from cameras and that type of stuff, so.
I'm not in favor of buying lower quality stuff because we can afford it and
Right.
then have to replace it with the stuff we actually need.
I agree.
So, and I don't know anything about any of this stuff, so whoever is the expert in it, but I've seen people, well, let's get this because we can afford it, and then when you put it in, it's like, let's take that and throw it in the garbage because it doesn't work, and let's buy the stuff we need, and you spend twice the amount of money to get the same job done.
Right.
Well, what's the timeline? Do we have a certain amount of time to?
Yes,
spend?
you're required an online report within 6 months of the date of the contract. Now, I am.
You can ask for extensions on
Yes,
those.
that is correct, because we have done that also.
Maybe, could we have Jeff come to a meeting with a price quote and just, and, he's the expert, so maybe put everybody at ease and with a plan. Is that okay?
Bob, can you go to the presentation? Would you have time to accept that and kind of get some publicity about, for the city, that we are planning on moving in this direction, and there's a date on that?
Yes, I think Tuesday, April 8th.
At noon,
That's a workshop. Oh, at noon?
is it noon at Country Club?
Okay.
I think lunch is included.
Yeah.
It'd be good, just to get it out there that we are going to be protecting our parks. This is our plan, so, get as much awareness of zero tolerance on this. So, what, action is, to bring Jeff in to kind of, in a workshop, kind of talk to us about it. So we can kind of decide, make a decision that gives, and also, Bob, give us your opinion on what you'd like to see happen.
I'll do that.
Thank you.
Do we have any money specifically
I think-
budgeted already for this?
Pardon?
Did we have a line item or no? I can't remember in our budget, we did we?
I can't
Or did
remember
we?
how, Doug, you remember?
No, it was, basically denied, I think, when we talked about it, that we weren't gonna do that, so.
So I thought-
Nothing in
Let's
there.
see what we get, so this will be.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay. Did you wanna go over the tree board stuff?
Yeah, briefly, you've got a chart in front of you. Tree board's been doing a lot of work over the last few weeks, planning for this year's planting and cleanup from this winter. So a few things I want to touch base on, but let's start with this chart. These are the trees that well, let me start with this. We had $3,400 worth of income that's come, a little bit over $3,400 income that's come from the walnut tree harvest, the dead and diseased and dying trees that were taken from Hampton Park. We have another $1,000 that came by way of a grant that came from